And what if I told you that everything you believe you need to feel good is precisely what is weakening you? Have you ever wondered why you feel empty when someone doesn't reply, doesn't validate you, doesn't pay attention to you? It's because your mood depends so heavily on the external. This isn't coincidence. It's emotional addiction. And the most dangerous part of this addiction is that it carries no warnings. It doesn't destroy you all at once. It does so gradually, with every message you wait for, every missing like, every glance you don't receive. Carl Jung understood this deeply. No one can truly be free without self-mastery. It begins with reclaiming control of your inner world, with ceasing to depend on what you cannot control, with refusing to bind yourself emotionally to what doesn't belong to you. Feeling good without needing anyone is not arrogance, it's freedom. It's being able to look around and say, none of this defines me, none of this can drag me down. It's understanding that whoever depends on another for peace has already lost the battle, and losing that battle is easy. All it takes is getting used to waiting. Waiting for someone to love you, to choose you, to give you worth. But while you wait, your power dissolves, and you become someone who doesn't live, only reacts. The key lies in realizing that external validation is not something to pursue, but something to stop needing. Because the moment you stop needing it, you reclaim the power to decide how you feel. And that power changes everything. It doesn't mean closing yourself off from the world. It means no longer making the world your primary source of well-being. You can love, connect, share, without handing over the keys to your peace. Because that peace is yours, and it must remain yours. Most people think emotional freedom is coldness, but Jung didn't teach coldness. He taught firmness, the ability to remain unmoved by the waves of the external, to avoid suffering over expectations you cannot control, to live with what is and still feel whole. And wholeness doesn't come from having everything. It comes from not needing everything. It's born when you learn to say, I'm fine, even if they don't respond. I'm at peace, even if they don't understand me. I can stand, even if no one holds me. That's where true transformation begins, when you no longer give the world the power to push you, when you decide when to speak, when to be silent, when to walk away. Not out of pride, but clarity, because you understand your well-being is not negotiable. And though many won't understand, you didn't come into this world to make others happy at your own expense. You came to own yourself, to never beg for space, love, or attention, to live with such integrity that no one can take from you what you never gave. Jung often reminded that there are only two things we control: our actions and our reactions. Everything else is beyond us. Clinging to what you cannot control opens the door to suffering. It hands the wheel of your life to someone else. But when you take it back, when you begin to say, this doesn't define me, this doesn't break me, this isn't mine, something shifts inside. Your energy stops scattering. Your mind frees itself. Your soul calms. You realize you don't need more. You only need less dependence, less craving for approval, less outside noise in your center, because your center is no longer outside. It's within, and no one can take it from you. When you start letting go of the need to please, silence will greet you at first, an uncomfortable silence, because you're no longer fed by external reactions, no longer fueled by instant reinforcement that once defined your days. But that silence is where your peace is built. And it's not an explosive peace. It's a quiet, steady, unshakable peace. The kind that comes when you know you can be alone without feeling empty. The kind that arrives when you understand your worth doesn't depend on how many seek you, but on how you stand when no one does. Many will tell you to surround yourself with positive people, to seek support, to connect with others, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the danger is using it as a crutch, an escape, a disguise to avoid facing your own emptiness. Because the problem isn't being alone. It's not being able to bear it. Jung emphasized that the free soul does not suffer over what lies beyond its control, and nothing escapes your control more than the behavior of others, their words, their actions, their feelings. If you make that your center, you will live in ruins. True emotional freedom begins when you stop saying, "They made me feel bad," and start saying, "I allowed myself to feel that." It's not about blame, it's about responsibility. It's understanding that what happens outside is far less important than what you choose to do with it inside. And that choice is made every moment. Every time someone fails to respond as you hoped, every time your effort goes unrecognized, every time someone turns their back, you decide, do I break or do I hold? Do I react or do I breathe and remain centered? Because all that is external is unstable. Attention, love, recognition. They are here today, gone tomorrow. Today they applaud, tomorrow they forget. And if your well-being depends on that, your life becomes an emotional roller coaster. You'll never truly know when you're well. But when you build it from within, it doesn't matter what comes. You have a refuge, an unshakable core, a place within you where nothing external can reach. And that place is your true strength. There, you can rest even in the midst of chaos. Many confuse this with coldness, but it isn't insensitivity. It's maturity. It's having suffered enough to know there are things no longer worth your energy. It's having an open heart, but not an unguarded one. To love without losing yourself, to give without emptying yourself. Jung spoke of self-discipline, not as punishment, but as freedom, because those who do not master themselves live mastered. Those who do not regulate themselves live trapped in impulsive reactions. And an impulsive life is not a free life. It is a life enslaved to the moment. You weren't born to react to everything. You were born to create, to decide, to build yourself. And that requires emotional distance from what doesn't nourish you. It means stopping the habit of responding just because, ceasing to search without purpose, refusing to seek approval from those who don't even know themselves. This is not isolation. It's clarity. It's knowing not everything that shines is companionship. Not all attention is affection. Not every message is connection. Learning to filter doesn't make you cold. It makes you wise, because you choose what enters your world and what doesn't. And when you have that ability, solitude no longer frightens you, because you know it's not punishment. It's fertile ground, space to find yourself, to build, to observe. And from there, you can connect without chaining yourself, love without dependence, give without depletion. This is what Jung wanted to teach, that your life is not defined by others, but by what you choose to do with it. And if you choose to depend less, you will suffer less. And when you suffer less, you live more, because every part of you returns to you. One of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is accept that not everyone will understand your path. Not everyone will celebrate your emotional independence, because when you stop depending, you stop being useful to those who need to control you. And that unsettles them, because your new stability breaks the script they expect you to apologize for changing, to ask permission to walk away, to explain why you no longer accept what you once tolerated. But you are not here to follow someone else's script. You are here to write your own, to move without justifying yourself every time you choose to protect your peace. Because those who truly respect you don't need you to explain your silence. They understand it. And if they don't, they shouldn't be close. Jung taught that if you want to be free, you must abandon the illusion of control over others, including how they see you, what they think of you, how they react when you no longer respond as before. Freeing yourself from that burden is an act of self-love, and in that act, you reclaim your center, because you stop wasting energy trying to change what you cannot change. Instead of fighting for attention, you begin to cultivate yourself. Instead of seeking acceptance, you become someone who accepts themselves without condition. That transforms your presence, because you no longer enter relationships hungry, but abundant. You no longer engage in dynamics of dependence, but of reciprocity. And that filters, because what isn't real breaks in the face of your clarity. Not everyone will know how to deal with someone who doesn't need saving, who expects nothing, but gives everything by choice, not out of lack. And that's rare. That unsettles, because most are used to need disguised as love. When you arrive from wholeness, you change the game. You no longer need to fill voids. You no longer ask to be completed. You are complete. And from that wholeness, you can offer, share, build, without losing yourself in the process. It is understanding that being at peace with yourself will always be enough. Because the truth is this: if you cannot bring happiness to yourself, no one else will ever be able to. And if you need someone to feel complete, you will never feel free. Only when you learn to enjoy your own company will you become truly invincible. The hardest part of no longer depending on someone is not the loneliness. It is leaving behind the version of yourself that believed you needed the other to feel okay. That part of you that fed on emotional scraps, that confused attention with love, that preferred having something, even if it hurt, over having nothing at all. But when you finally let it go, you experience a kind of raw freedom that feels frightening at first. You have no one to blame, no one to wait for, no one to hold responsible for your emotions. It's you, only you. And that is a truth very few are willing to face. Carl Jung would say that this is where true inner work begins, not in books, but in the daily practice of living without attachment, in observing your own thoughts, in mastering your impulses, in refusing to be carried away by the emotion of the moment, in holding yourself steady when everything around you pushes you to surrender. And do you know what happens when you succeed? Your life falls into place. What is not essential disappears. What is real remains. Because you are no longer vibrating from need, but from choice. You are no longer searching to fill emptiness. You are living from fullness. This does not mean it no longer hurts. Of course it hurts to lose bonds, to close chapters, to discover who was never truly with you. But that pain no longer drowns you. It awakens you, because you no longer see it as rejection, but as redirection. Every time you choose your peace over someone else's validation, you win. Every time you choose silence instead of a reactive answer, you grow. And every time you choose to stay with yourself instead of running to someone else out of habit, you heal. Life becomes a constant exercise in self-respect. You are no longer trying to please in order to be loved. You are loving yourself enough not to betray yourself. And that daily act makes you stronger, more grounded, more you. Jung spoke of detachment not as coldness, but as a necessary boundary against what you cannot control. Because at the end of the day, what do you gain by worrying about what you cannot influence? What do you build from clinging to the unstable? Nothing. You only wear yourself out. You only fragment. You only lose pieces of yourself trying to hold on to what cannot be held. And that is exactly what the world feeds on. Broken, dependent, easily manipulated people. Because someone who does not need themselves will end up needing everything else. But you are choosing another path. You are building from within. You are cultivating a stability that does not shake when a message is left unread, that does not vanish because of an absence, that does not disappear with a criticism. And that makes you rare, because you no longer play the game. You no longer offer yourself in the same way. You no longer accept any emotional bargain. Now you have standards. You have boundaries. You have an inner compass that does not bend with every passing wind. People will start saying, "You've changed," and they will be right. You've traded need for choice, emptiness for clarity, anxiety for calm. And now, you don't need to announce it. You simply live differently, and it shows. Feeling good without depending on anyone is not disconnecting from the world. It is connecting with yourself so deeply that there is no room left for the false. It is choosing relationships not out of urgency, but out of genuine connection. And though it may hurt at first, in the end, it feels like home. When you reach that point, you can walk calmly, not because everything outside is fine, but because everything inside is in order. And that sense of inner order is priceless. There comes a moment when you realize no one is coming to save you, and that this is not a tragedy, but a liberation. Because when you stop expecting someone else to fill your emptiness, you discover you always had the tools to do it yourself. That realization hurts, but it also frees you. You no longer build your worth based on whether someone accepts you, loves you, or validates you. You build it on how much you can hold yourself up even when the world falls silent. And in that silence, the most important thing happens. You learn to listen to yourself. You discover you were never weak. You were only misaligned. You realize nothing was missing. You had only been disconnected from yourself. And what you sought so desperately outside had always lived within you. This does not make you cold, nor someone who needs no one. It makes you someone who chooses from abundance, not from lack. Someone who can be alone without feeling lonely. Someone who does not run from themselves. Carl Jung summed it up perfectly. Do not seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and your life will flow serenely. That is the peace that comes when you accept that everything you need to feel whole is already within you. Then you realize it is not about isolating yourself. It is about filtering, about not letting just anyone in, about not granting access to everyone, because your energy is sacred, your attention valuable, and your peace priceless. Sometimes losing relationships, losing opportunities, losing approval is simply the cost of gaining inner freedom. And when you understand that, you stop mourning what leaves and start being grateful for what stays, your center, your clarity, your calm. This does not make you better than anyone, but it does make you hard to manipulate. Because those who do not need, do not crawl. Those who do not depend, do not sell themselves. And those who are whole, do not shatter just to belong. Emotional dependence is not broken by running away from everyone. It is broken by the daily decision to choose yourself, even when it would be easier to return to the same old pattern. It is a silent revolution, a constant practice, an act of self-love in every moment. And that is when you begin to live differently. You no longer react to everything. You no longer chase what does not flow. You no longer accept what hurts you just to avoid being alone. Because your own company is finally enough. And that changes everything. You start attracting differently. People no longer come to you because you are available. They come because you are present. You are no longer an option out of someone's need. You are a choice because of your essence. Those who have learned to be well alone become magnetic. And it is not because of what they say. It is because of how they move, how they respond, how they remain. Your calm is the reflection of an inner battle won many times in silence, a battle few see, but everyone feels. Carl Jung never promised a life without pain. He promised a life with meaning, even in the midst of pain. And that is what you are building now, a life where you choose, you decide, you inhabit yourself, and from there, everything else is extra. So if you ever felt you could not be okay without someone, that your worth depended on a "I love you" or someone's attention, today, you know that is not true. Today, you know you can hold yourself up, and that makes you indestructible. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and join this community of people who are choosing to live with depth, clarity, and self-respect. Because, as Carl Jung would say, the moment you meet yourself fully, you will realize you were never truly alone. Your soul was simply waiting for you to come home.
Attachment is not love. We've been taught that love hurts, that when someone truly matters to you, you should fear losing them. That loving means needing, clinging, depending. But Carl Jung left us with a truth that few dare to accept. Attachment is not love. It is fear in disguise. When you attach yourself to someone, it's not just because you love them. It's because deep down you feel that without them, something in you is incomplete. You feel that without their presence, your life loses meaning. You feel that without their validation, your worth as a person diminishes. You feel that without their love, something in you breaks. But here's the truth. That is not love. It is emotional dependence. Real love is expansion, not confinement. It is sharing from a place of freedom, not emptiness. It is being with someone because you choose to, not because you need them to feel complete. Yet most people confuse love with attachment because they've experienced relationships where the fear of losing was stronger than the desire to share. And this is where I want you to ask yourself something. Do you truly love that person, or are you just afraid to be without them? How attachment masquerades as love. Attachment is not just feeling like you need someone in your life. It's feeling that without them, you lose a part of yourself. And it's easy to justify. It's easy to say you love someone so much that you can't imagine life without them. But the problem isn't loving. The problem is believing that without that person, love disappears. If you believe love exists only in another and not within you, you become a prisoner of that bond. If you believe you need someone to feel worthy, your happiness will always depend on external factors. If you feel that without them, you lose stability, it means you are using them as an anchor to hold yourself up. And here's the hardest truth to accept. When attachment governs your life, fear becomes a driving force of your relationship. Fear of change, fear of distance, fear that they will stop loving you, fear that one day they will no longer be there. That is not love. It is fear of loss. When you love, you add. When you attach, you cling. The difference between love and attachment is simple. Love allows you to be yourself without fear of losing. Attachment makes you feel that without the other, you are not enough. Love flows. Attachment traps. Love is free. Attachment is possessive. Love complements. Attachment depends. If you feel that without this person, you would fall apart, it is not love. It is a sign that you have placed your happiness in someone else's hands. And this is where detachment becomes necessary. Not because you have to walk away from the person, but because you need to restore the most important relationship in your life, the one you have with yourself. Because when you depend emotionally on someone, you give them control over your well-being. If they stay, you're happy. If they leave, you fall apart. And deep down, you know that's not healthy. Loving without depending, the balance few achieve. Carl Jung said that love does not need to possess. It only needs to understand. When you love from connection instead of dependency, you stop needing control. When you understand that no one is responsible for your happiness, you stop clinging. When you realize that love is not a limited resource, you stop fearing that it will run out. Because real love is not fear, it is not anxiety, it is not anguish at the thought of losing. Real love is freedom. But to experience it, you must first free yourself from attachment. You must learn to let go without fear. You must understand that detachment does not mean losing. It means reclaiming your peace. And now comes the most important question. How do you let go without feeling like you're losing something? How do you release without being left with emptiness? That is what we will discover in the next part. Because detaching from someone does not mean giving up on love. It means reclaiming yourself. A quick stop. Letting go of someone doesn't mean losing. It means reclaiming your freedom. Letting go is one of the hardest experiences for a human being. Since childhood, we are taught that true love is the one that lasts forever, that when someone truly matters, we should do everything possible to keep them close. We have been conditioned to believe that detachment is synonymous with failure, that letting go means losing. But here's the truth that few are willing to accept. Letting go of someone doesn't mean losing. It means freeing yourself from the idea that your happiness depends on their presence. Love should not be a prison. You shouldn't live in constant fear that this person might change, leave, or one day choose a different path. Because when fear takes over, love becomes a burden instead of a gift. Carl Jung once said that nothing has a stronger psychological influence on its surroundings than the unlived life of a parent. But this phrase doesn't just apply to parents. It applies to any relationship. When you sacrifice your essence to be with someone, when you abandon parts of yourself to sustain a bond, when you stay where you are no longer happy out of fear of letting go, you are giving up your own life. And that is the greatest loss of all. The fear of letting go is not love. It is dependency. If the thought of letting someone go terrifies you, ask yourself this. Is it really love that binds you, or is it the fear of being alone? Sometimes we believe we can't let go of someone because we love them too much. But if you dig deeper into that emotion, you will often discover that what truly holds you back is the fear of not finding someone else to connect with, the fear of facing yourself without the distraction of a relationship, the fear that the emptiness you feel will grow even larger. But here's the irony. The emptiness was already there before that person came into your life. You just disguise it by being with someone. You believe their love filled that void, but the truth is that no one can fill a void that only you can heal. Letting go of someone doesn't mean that person wasn't important. It doesn't mean you have to forget what you lived. It doesn't mean the love wasn't real. It means you choose to put yourself first. You choose your peace over a relationship that drains you. You choose to regain your energy instead of exhausting yourself over someone who is no longer present. You choose to move forward instead of staying trapped in what once was. Letting go doesn't mean stopping love. It means stopping the suffering. Many people believe that detachment means becoming cold, cutting ties completely, or erasing the past. But true detachment is not the absence of love. You can let go of someone and still appreciate what they meant in your life. You can move on without resentment. You can continue forward without erasing the past, but without remaining stuck in it. The difference between letting go with love and letting go with suffering lies in how you interpret the farewell. If you see detachment as a loss, it will hurt, as if something that belongs to you is being taken away. But if you see it as an act of love toward yourself, as an opportunity to reclaim your space, your energy, and your freedom, then letting go becomes an open door, not an ending. When you cling, you chain yourself. If you have ever tried to hold on to a relationship at all costs, you know that the more you cling, the more you suffer. The more you try to hold on to someone who wants to leave, the more you exhaust yourself. The more you fight to restore something that is already broken, the more frustrated you become. Because attachment does not strengthen bonds, it suffocates them. If love is real, It doesn't need to be forced. If the connection is genuine, it is sustained not by fear, but by choice. If someone truly wants to be in your life, they will be, without you having to convince them. That's why, when you cling to someone who is no longer emotionally present, you chain yourself to an illusion. You become trapped in the idea of what the relationship once was, what it could have been, in the version of the person you once knew, who perhaps no longer exists. But tell me something. How much longer do you plan to hold on to what is already left? How much more energy will you waste on someone who may have already moved on? Letting go is reclaiming your power. When you let go, you realize that the only person you truly need in your life is yourself. Not because others don't matter, but because self-love is the foundation of any healthy relationship. You cannot love from a place of lack. You cannot share your life if you do not belong to yourself first. You cannot build a strong connection if the fear of losing is always present. Letting go does not mean losing. It means reclaiming your space, choosing yourself again, opening yourself to new possibilities. It means trusting that what is meant for you will come without being forced. And now tell me, are you going to keep holding on to what no longer is, or are you going to take back your power? Because in the next point, you will discover how to heal without closing your heart, how to let go without shutting yourself off from love. When we lose someone who is important in our lives, the pain is inevitable. It feels like something inside us breaks, like a part of our identity crumbles with that person's absence. And this is where many people make the biggest mistake. Either they remain trapped in suffering, reliving the past over and over, or they become cold, closing themselves off from love to avoid feeling pain again. But Carl Jung taught us something fundamental. What you deny controls you. What you accept transforms you. If you try to heal by ignoring what you feel, you'll only push it deeper within you, and sooner or later it will resurface, disguised as fear, mistrust, or insecurity. Healing is not forgetting. Healing is not repressing. Healing is learning to feel without getting stuck in pain. And the key to doing that is allowing yourself to go through the process without fearing what it might awaken in you, the mistake of repressing pain. We live in a society that teaches us to quickly move past what hurts us. They tell us that time heals everything, that we must be strong, that moving forward is simply about distracting ourselves and not thinking too much. But that is not healing, that is avoidance. Because the pain you do not process stays within you. It turns into resentment, into fear of trusting again, into a wall you build between yourself and love. Have you ever met someone who, after a failed relationship, says things like, "I will never fall in love again. I can't trust anyone anymore. Love only brings suffering"? That person is not healed. They have merely closed their heart to avoid feeling vulnerable again. And instead of learning from their experience, they live in a constant state of protection, avoiding any real connection for fear of being hurt once more. But tell me, what is the point of protecting yourself from love if, in the process, you also deprive yourself of experiencing it? Feeling the pain is part of the process. If you truly want to heal, you cannot skip the pain. You have to face it. You have to allow yourself to feel the sadness, the anger, the nostalgia. You have to accept that it is normal to miss someone who was once important to you. You have to let every emotion run its course without trying to block it, because the pain you accept dissolves. But the pain you repress becomes a burden you carry for years. Don't be afraid to feel. Don't punish yourself for being sad. Don't think that just because you've chosen to let go, you no longer have the right to experience grief. Only when you allow yourself to feel without clinging to suffering can you truly heal. Healing doesn't mean closing your heart. Many people believe that the only way to avoid suffering again is to shut down. They decide they will never trust anyone again. They convince themselves it's better not to take another risk. They build walls around their hearts to avoid feeling pain again. But that is not the solution. Protecting yourself from love doesn't make you stronger. It only makes you lonelier. If you've been hurt, if you've had to let someone go, if love has brought you pain in the past, that doesn't mean it will always be that way. Every person who enters your life is a different experience. Every connection has something new to teach you. Every story is unique. If you close yourself off because of what has already happened, you will be denying yourself the chance to live something better. Don't let a negative experience define your ability to love. Don't let fear decide for you. Don't let the pain of the past become the reason you refuse to open your heart in the future. Because healing is not just about letting go of pain. It's about learning to trust again. How do you let go without becoming hardened? This is where many people get confused. They think detachment means becoming cold, indifferent, distant. That to avoid suffering, they must cut off all emotion at the root. That to heal, they must convince themselves they never cared. But detachment is not disconnection. It's not about becoming immune to emotions, but learning to experience them without getting trapped in them. It's not about forgetting what you've lived through, but about learning from it without resentment. It's not about stopping love, but understanding that love was never something you were meant to own. Carl Jung said that the key to emotional freedom is integrating the experience without clinging to it, being grateful for what was without needing to relive it, learning from what you've lived without fearing it will repeat, making space for the new without carrying the old. That is healing. It's not running from love, but finding a healthier way to experience it. It's not about hardening yourself, but learning to feel without depending. It's not about forgetting the one you loved, but releasing them with gratitude instead of pain. Love is not the problem. The problem is how you've interpreted it until now. If you've experienced it from a place of lack, you will see it as suffering. If you've lived it through attachment, you will believe you are nothing without it. If you've used it to fill emptiness, you will feel broken without the other person. But when you learn to love without fear, without dependence, without possession, then you realize that love is not something that comes from outside. Love has always been within you. And once you truly understand that, you will never be afraid to let go again. The real power is in moving forward. Now that you know that letting go doesn't mean losing, now that you understand that healing doesn't mean closing your heart, there's one last question. How do you transform this entire process into real growth? Because letting go and healing should not leave you empty. They should turn you into someone stronger, more aware, more whole. And that is what we will explore in the next part. The end of a love story is not the end of your life. It is the beginning of something much greater, transforming pain into growth, using the experience to make you stronger. The pain of letting go of someone can feel like an open wound. It can make you doubt yourself, wonder what you did wrong, relive memories over and over in your mind. But there is something you need to understand. Suffering is only destructive when you don't use it to grow. Carl Jung said that without pain, there is no awareness. The experiences that hurt us the most don't come into our lives to destroy us, but to reveal something we had refused to see. They force us out of what is familiar and push us to a higher level of consciousness, teaching us what we need to learn about ourselves. But many people get stuck in their pain. They relive it over and over again, using it to justify their distrust. They identify so deeply with their suffering that it becomes a part of their identity. But this is where you have a choice. You can allow pain to consume you, or you can use it as fuel for your transformation. Every experience you've lived through, every loss, every disappointment, has left something within you. Maybe you learned that you cannot rely on someone else to make you happy. Maybe you realized that you never set boundaries, and that led you to lose yourself in a relationship. Maybe you discovered that you had settled for less than what you truly deserved. Pain has a purpose. It is showing you something about yourself that you hadn't wanted to face. And if, instead of asking, why did this happen to me, you start asking, what can I learn from this? Everything changes. Because now, pain is no longer a punishment but a tool for growth. If it left you feeling insecure, use it to build a stronger sense of self-confidence. If it made you feel lost, use it to reconnect with what you truly want. If it taught you that you gave too much without receiving the same in return, use it to learn how to set healthy boundaries. Every scar is a reminder that you went through something difficult and survived. But the difference between someone who remains trapped in the past and someone who has evolved lies in how they choose to use their experience. Many people believe that letting go of someone means losing a part of themselves. But the truth is that when you let go of someone, you find yourself. Because letting go does not mean forgetting what was lived, but rather learning how to move forward without staying trapped in the story. And this is where real transformation happens. If, after a painful experience, you remain the same person, it means you haven't learned the lesson. But if you allow that experience to help you grow, then nothing you went through was in vain. Here's the key. Pain should not make you harder. It should make you wiser. You should not close yourself off to love, but learn to love without fear. You should not stop trusting, but instead learn to recognize who truly deserves your trust. You should not carry resentment, but learn to let go with gratitude for what you experienced. Life is not about avoiding pain. It's about learning from it, transforming it, and turning it into something that makes you stronger. Your story does not end here. If you are going through a process of detachment, if letting go of someone feels harder than you imagined, I want you to remember something. You are not losing. You are evolving. You are not leaving behind a part of yourself. You are discovering a stronger version of yourself. You are not giving up on love. You are learning to experience it in a healthier way. You are not doomed to repeat the same suffering. You are gaining the wisdom to avoid falling into the same patterns. And now, ask yourself this: how will you use this experience to grow? Because the story you live can no longer be changed, but the story you will write from now on is entirely in your hands. And this leads us to the most important step of all: moving forward with fulfillment, without fear, without chains. That is what we will explore in the final point. Because letting go of someone is not just about closing a chapter. It is an opportunity to open yourself to an entirely new life. Moving forward with fulfillment. Building a life where attachment is no longer a chain. Detachment from someone is not just about letting go of a relationship. It's about releasing the idea that you need someone else to feel complete. It's about returning to yourself, reclaiming your energy, and learning to live from a place of freedom rather than dependence. But many people, even after letting go, remain chained to past. They keep revisiting memories, secretly hoping that person will come back, clinging to the idea of what could have been. Without realizing it, they turn attachment into a silent waiting game. But here's the truth. You cannot move forward while still looking back. You cannot build something new if you're still trapped in the old. You cannot feel free if you're still carrying the chains of attachment. The invisible attachment, the story of someone who couldn't let go. Imagine someone who ends a relationship. They say they've moved on, that they're fine, that they've let go. But every night, they scroll through their last conversation. Every time they hear a song that reminds them of that love, they feel a knot in their stomach. Every time they meet someone new, they compare them to the person they lost. On the surface, it seems like they've moved on, but in their mind, they're still bound. They keep replaying every detail, wondering what they could have done differently. Deep down, they still hope destiny will give them another chance. They feel that without that person, something inside them is no longer the same. That is not freedom. It is an emotional prison where the past still controls the present. And the most dangerous part? Most people don't even realize they're still trapped. They convince themselves that they're fine, that time will fix everything, that eventually the pain will fade. But here's the question you need to ask yourself. Have you truly let go, or have you just gotten used to carrying the memory? The emptiness you believe that person left behind was always there. If you think about someone you've lost and feel a void inside, I want you to remember something. That person didn't create that emptiness. That emptiness was always within you. The only difference is that while they were in your life, you believed they filled it. You thought their love gave you something you didn't know how to give yourself. You believed their presence covered a part of you that you didn't want to face. That's why when they left, it felt like you lost more than just them. You felt like you lost a part of yourself. But here's the truth that few are willing to accept. No one can complete you. If you feel empty, the solution is not to find someone else to fill the void. The solution is to discover what part of yourself you continue to abandon. Because if you don't, you will keep repeating the same cycle, clinging to the next person, hoping that this time will be different. You will build your happiness around another relationship, believing that if it works this time, you won't suffer again, and you will lose yourself in someone else, not realizing that the only relationship you ever truly needed to heal was the one with yourself. Imagine waking up every day with the certainty that nothing external defines your well-being. Imagine loving without the fear of losing, because you understand that no one can take away what you have already found within yourself. Imagine being truly free, not because you have no ties, but because your ties no longer come from need, but from wholeness. That is what it truly means to move forward. It's not about forgetting the people who were important to you. It's not about becoming indifferent or cold. It's not about pretending it didn't hurt to lose them. It's about understanding that love is not measured by how much you suffer when someone leaves. It's about remembering that your worth does not change depending on who is in your life or who is no longer there. It's about reclaiming your power. Life goes on with or without them. The question is, are you moving forward with it? There are people who spend their entire lives looking back, trapped in a story that has already ended. They keep waiting for answers that will never come. They feel nostalgia for something that was never as perfect as they remember. And meanwhile, life keeps moving forward without them. Every day you remain anchored to the past is a day lost in the present. Every time you cling to someone who is no longer there, you close the door to what could come next. Every time you convince yourself that you cannot be happy without that person, you steal from yourself the opportunity to discover that you actually can. So tell me, how much longer will you keep giving your energy to what no longer exists? How much longer will you let attachment keep you chained to a story that has already ended? How much longer will you postpone your true freedom? Because when you truly decide to move on, something changes inside you. You realize you don't need to go back to who you were because you are building something better. You realize that love was never lost because it still lives within you. You realize that life is not taking anything away from you. It's simply showing you that you can be happy without depending on anyone else. That is true liberation. When you understand that no one can complete you because you are already whole. When you stop expecting something external to fill a void that only you can heal. When you realize that love is not possession, it is presence. It is not necessity, it is choice. The day you understand this, attachment stops being a chain. The day you understand this, you stop being a prisoner of a story that has already ended. The day you understand this, you finally begin to live. So tell me, are you ready to stop looking back and start moving forward without fear? Because once you truly understand this, there is no turning back. You move forward, but this time without chains.
Since the dawn of time, human beings have sought to understand the meaning of love, the mystery of deep connections, and the reasons behind the relationships that shape our lives. Why do some people seem destined to meet? Why do certain bonds transform us, leaving an indelible mark, while others pass through our lives like fleeting shadows? Carl Jung, the great master of analytical psychology, offered profound insight into the nature of these connections, distinguishing those that arise from the soul from those born merely out of surface-level attraction. In a world where relationships often feel volatile and transient, where love is frequently confused with obsession and attraction mistaken for true connection, it becomes essential to learn how to distinguish the genuine from the illusory. Jung taught us that every meaningful encounter in our lives carries a purpose, that the people who come into our lives do so not by accident, but as mirrors reflecting parts of our own unconscious mind. In the vast universe of the psyche, nothing happens by chance. Every person we meet, every intense emotion we experience within a relationship, is a message from our inner world, an unveiling of something deeper within ourselves. The human being, by nature, seeks wholeness. From the moment we are born, we long for connection, recognition, and love. Yet this desire often leads us to chase illusions, to confuse intensity with depth, desire with purpose. Jung invites us to look beyond the surface, to recognize that what we are truly seeking in others is often a reflection of what lies within us. That overwhelming pull we feel towards someone can, in many cases, be the echo of something we've repressed or denied within our own psyche. Many times we believe we've found someone special simply because we feel an immediate connection, a spark that electrifies us, a magnetism we can't explain. But is this truly a sign of a soul connection? Or is it the unresolved longing of our inner world calling out? Jung warned us about the tricks of the unconscious, the projections we cast onto others. Every time we feel irresistibly drawn to someone, we are not merely seeing the real person before us, but are also projecting onto them our own unmet needs, desires, and hidden shadows. This phenomenon is far more common than we realize. We often fall in love with people who embody the parts of ourselves we have repressed. If we are highly rational and controlled, we may find ourselves attracted to someone spontaneous and free. If we have buried our vulnerability, we might feel an intense pull towards someone who displays it fearlessly. But this is where a critical distinction must be made. A soul connection is not born out of lack or need. It is born from mutual recognition. It is not about filling voids, but about sharing fullness. For Jung, true love is neither possession nor dependency. It is not a game of deficiencies where one person seeks in another what they feel they lack. A soul connection does not stem from the fear of being alone, nor from the desire to be validated by another. Instead, it is a meeting between two beings who have learned to see each other without illusions, without masks, and without the distortions of unconscious projection. The path to recognizing an authentic connection begins within. We cannot differentiate real love from fleeting attraction if we haven't explored our own inner darkness. Jung emphasized the necessity of integrating the unconscious aspects of our psyche, of facing what we have buried, acknowledging our wounds, and bringing to light what lies in the shadow. Only after this inner work can we see others clearly, without the filters of unfulfilled needs clouding our vision. A true soul connection does not aim to complete the other person, but to walk beside them in their journey of self-discovery. It is not a relationship founded on idealization or emotional dependence, but one built on the profound understanding that each individual is a universe unto themselves. It is a connection where both people can grow and evolve together, without fear, without manipulation, and without the unconscious desire to dominate or be dominated. By contrast, mere attraction is often fleeting, intense, but shallow. It feeds off immediate desire and the longing to possess or be possessed, but rarely transcends the boundaries of the physical or emotional. In such relationships, the absence of true self-awareness leads individuals to become entangled in dynamics of attachment and frustration. Attraction alone is not enough to sustain a meaningful relationship. It may ignite a fire, but it lacks the depth and stability needed to nurture something lasting. Jung teaches us that true love is born the moment we dare to look beyond desire, when we see the other person not just with our physical eyes, but through the eyes of the soul. It's in these rare moments when we encounter someone who resonates deeply with our innermost being that we experience a sense of recognition so clear, so undeniable, that it transcends explanation. This is not the high of unrestrained passion, nor the anxiety that comes from craving acceptance. Rather, it is a state of calm, mutual understanding, a serene trust rooted not in fear, but in choice. In this space, love doesn't cling or grasp. It flows freely because both individuals know they will be fine, regardless of the path their relationship takes. A love grounded in awareness is fundamentally different from a love rooted in need. Most people seek love as a way to soothe their loneliness, to fill an inner emptiness, or to avoid facing themselves. But a genuine connection cannot grow from a place of lack. It only arises from inner wholeness. True love is the union of two souls who have already learned to feel complete on their own, and therefore, They are able to walk alongside one another without the fear of losing themselves in the process. This kind of relationship requires maturity. It demands that we see reality as it truly is, not through the lens of fantasy or projection. It requires courage, because we must be willing to face our own shadows rather than projecting them onto someone else. And most of all, it requires authenticity. Only when we show ourselves as we truly are, without masks or performances, can we attract those who are truly meant to walk this path with us. So the question becomes, are you seeking love out of need or from a place of inner abundance? Are you allowing yourself to be swept away by attraction without pausing to ask what lies beneath it? Jung invites us to look inward before offering ourselves to someone else. He reminds us that every relationship we experience is a reflection of our own psyche, and that only by doing the inner work can we cultivate authentic connections. Real connections do not leave us confused. They do not make us question our worth. They do not push us to erase our identity in order to fit into someone else's world. When two souls connect, there is freedom, trust, and mutual growth. There is no manipulation, no power struggle, no need to reshape the other to meet our expectations. The great trap of attraction is that it makes us feel alive, sparks hope, seduces us with the illusion of eternal love. But when it lacks a true, soul-level connection, it inevitably falls apart over time. Many people spend their lives jumping from one relationship to another, endlessly searching, but never truly finding, because they haven't yet understood that real love begins with self-awareness. If we want to distinguish a soul connection from a fleeting attraction, we must be willing to look beyond the surface. We must ask ourselves what we are truly searching for. We must become familiar with our own shadows and recognize that love is not meant to heal our inner voids, but to express our inner fullness. When we do meet someone with whom we share this kind of profound connection, we simply know. There is no need to chase, to convince, to force anything. It is a quiet recognition, an inner certainty. And if you haven't yet found this type of connection, remember, everything begins within. The more you know yourself, the more you embrace both your light and your shadow, the more you'll be able to recognize and attract true love. Jung's message is clear. Do not search outside for what you must first discover within, because when you truly know and accept yourself in your entirety, the universe will align you with those who vibrate at your same frequency. And it is in that sacred intersection, in that quiet meeting point, that souls recognize each other. A soul connection is far more than intense attraction or surface compatibility. It is a deep recognition, an echo of something that seems to have existed long before this moment, as if two souls, after wandering on long separate journeys in search of themselves, had finally found their way back to each other. Jung spoke of synchronicity, a phenomenon in which events mysteriously align to deliver a message or awaken a realization. It's as if life itself weaves an invisible thread, bringing people together with precise timing, not by chance, but as part of a larger orchestration. When a soul connection takes place, reality bends to ensure the two paths converge at the perfect moment. This meeting is not accidental. It's a form of sacred geometry unfolding in real time, guiding us toward transformation. When someone enters your life and ignites a profound change within you, it feels as though they were the missing piece of an internal puzzle you didn't even realize you were assembling. They don't come to complete you. This isn't about dependency or filling a void, but they reflect back to you the forgotten or repressed fragments of your own self. Their presence helps you remember not just who you are, but who you were always meant to be. These soul connections don't arise from a need to possess, nor do they stem from the fear of being alone. Instead, they emerge from a frequency that vibrates deep within your being. The resonance is unmistakable. It isn't about external attraction or fulfilling a list of requirements. It's a sense of recognition at the level of the soul. In such relationships, there's no pressure to impress. There are no games, no strategies of seduction. It feels natural, effortless, as if it had always been written. Words become secondary because the connection transcends language. It's not about what the other can give you or what you can provide in return. It's about walking a shared path, growing, evolving, supporting each other in the journey of expanding consciousness. Unlike mere attraction, where physical desire or emotional validation often rule the dynamic, a soul connection is marked by authenticity. There's nothing to prove, no roles to perform, no parts of yourself to hide. Vulnerability is not only welcomed, it's essential, because true love doesn't demand perfection. It embraces the entirety of who you are. The shadow, a central concept in Jungian psychology, plays a crucial role in our relationships. Often, we are drawn to people who mirror the very aspects of ourselves we've repressed or denied. These are not soul connections, but rather psychological mirrors, reflections of our own unhealed wounds. That's why some relationships are charged with intensity, emotional turmoil, and endless cycles of conflict. They aren't destined unions, they are opportunities. These relationships reveal our inner struggles, our unmet needs, our traumas still waiting to be seen. In these encounters, attraction can feel overpowering, but that doesn't mean they're healthy. These are the bonds where emotional dependency and attachment take over, where love is confused with control and passion is laced with fear. The fear of losing the other becomes a source of pain, creating toxic patterns of dominance and submission. These are the connections that drain, rather than nourish. They leave you feeling depleted, not renewed. As Jung taught, these relationships are not random misfortunes. They are catalysts, designed to push us toward healing, to force us to face the shadow within. True love, by contrast, expands. It does not confine, limit, or suppress. A soul connection inspires you to become more of yourself, more whole, more free. It invites you to explore dimensions of your being that you may have never accessed alone. There's no urge to possess, no impulse to control. Because real love is not born from fear, it arises from joy. It is a celebration of sharing, not a contract of need. In this kind of connection, both souls shine with their own light. One does not eclipse the other. There's harmony without uniformity. When you're in a soul connection, it feels like home, not because the other person is responsible for your happiness, but because together you create a space where both can be wholly, authentically themselves. There's no anxiety about the future, no clinging to outcomes. The bond doesn't rely on external circumstances, but on an inner resonance that transcends time and space. Jung believed every relationship we experience reflects our inner state. If we continue to attract pain, if we are repeatedly drawn to people who hurt us or make us feel inadequate, it's not because of fate or misfortune. It's because something inside of us is still asking to be healed. To draw in a soul connection, we must first do the internal work. We must walk into the depths of our own being. We must face the parts of ourselves we've hidden, heal the wounds we've long ignored, and integrate the pieces we've pushed away. Only when we come into peace with ourselves can we truly recognize another soul who has done the same and who is ready to share a love that comes from wholeness, not from lack. Carl Jung taught us a profound truth. Life is a mirror of our inner world. Everything we experience externally, our relationships, our struggles, our joys, is simply a reflection of the emotional, mental, and spiritual state within us. If we truly want to transform the way we relate to others, we must begin by transforming the relationship we have with ourselves. That love we so desperately seek outside can only manifest once we've learned to nurture it internally. And when we finally do, when we truly embody that self-love, the connections we make with others arrive effortlessly. There's no need for struggle, no pain, no chasing. These connections come naturally, like rivers finding the ocean. This is because real love cannot be chased. It doesn't emerge from desperation, and it's not something to be hunted. True love is discovered when we've reached a point of readiness to receive it. It appears in our lives not when we're begging for it, but when we're aligned with it internally. Human relationships and the concept of love are deeply rooted in the innermost layers of our psyche. Jung unveiled that what we see in our external world, especially in our relationships, is nothing more than a reflection of the unresolved aspects of our inner self. And this principle is perhaps most visible in our emotional connections. If we repeatedly find ourselves in relationships marked by pain, anxiety, or codependency, it's not because we are cursed by fate or destined to suffer. Rather, it's because we are unknowingly projecting and recreating the unresolved patterns of our unconscious. We're manifesting what we haven't healed. Until we bring those hidden wounds to light, we will continue to attract circumstances that mirror them. But when a soul connection happens, when two people meet who have done the inner work, the experience is entirely different. The energy of the relationship shifts. There's no overwhelming need, no fear of abandonment, no anxious desire to control. Instead, there's a powerful sense of expansion. Both individuals understand that the bond between them is not rooted in attachment or dependency. It flows from a deep resonance that transcends time, space, and even understanding. In such a connection, there's no fear of distance, no panic at the prospect of change. Because what ties these two souls together isn't obligation or fear, but a shared recognition of something much greater, a truth that lives beyond the physical realm. On the other hand, relationships built on superficial attraction tend to be defined by urgency, by need, by an overpowering desire to possess the other. These are connections driven by fear, fear of loss, fear of loneliness, fear of not being enough. And from this fear comes a toxic cycle of emotional highs and lows. Passionate moments are followed by conflict. The craving for closeness is laced with the terror of abandonment. It's a kind of love that drains rather than nourishes, that leaves you feeling empty rather than fulfilled. It becomes an emotional roller coaster, exhausting and consuming. One of the clearest signs that you've found a true soul connection is this. There is no need to change the other person, nor do you feel compelled to change yourself just to be accepted. The relationship is built on a foundation of authenticity, on unconditional acceptance, and on a profound respect for each other's individuality. There is no ongoing struggle to be validated because the relationship isn't built upon insecurity. It is founded on a deep understanding that each person is already whole on their own. Jung spoke of the process of individuation as the cornerstone of human development. Individuation is the journey of self-discovery, the integration of all the fragmented parts of our psyche. It is the process of becoming fully conscious, of embracing both light and shadow, and embodying our truest, most complete self. And when two individuals who have walked this path come together, their relationship is unlike anything conventional. They do not seek in the other what they feel they lack. They do not try to fill an inner void with someone else's presence. Instead, they come together in a natural, balanced way, complementing each other without dependency. In contrast, relationships born solely from attraction often become a form of escape. Many people enter into them without having done the inner work, hoping that the love of someone else will provide them with the stability, happiness, or validation they haven't found within themselves. But depending on another person to feel whole leads to a bond built on fear, on need, on illusion. It's not real love. It's a way of avoiding the work we must do within ourselves. When a true soul connection occurs, there's an overwhelming sense of freedom. There are no expectations to change. There's no fear of being left. There's no pressure to perform or to make it work. Everything flows with ease, with harmony, with a silent understanding that doesn't need words. In this kind of relationship, both people are free to continue growing individually without that growth threatening the bond. They are not together because they need to be. They are together because they choose to be. And that perhaps is the purest form of love there is. Carl Jung taught us a profound truth, one that often challenges us to look within rather than blame the world outside. He revealed that our relationships are not random or accidental. They are mirrors reflecting the parts of ourselves we still need to understand, heal, or transform. If we continually find ourselves drawn to people who hurt us, who fail to value us, or who make us feel unworthy, it's not because we're cursed or unlucky. It's because there is something inside us, something unresolved or fragmented, that is still calling out for attention and healing. These difficult relationships are not punishments. They are invitations, opportunities to awaken. They reveal what we still need to work on within ourselves. We attract not what we want, but what we believe we deserve. We attract what resonates with our current level of consciousness, our inner emotional frequency. And so, if we wish to experience different relationships, more fulfilling and authentic ones, we must first shift the relationship we have with ourselves. This is why the search for a soul connection, a deep and meaningful bond, should never begin by looking for someone else. It must begin with a journey inward. The more we come to understand ourselves, the more we dedicate time and care to healing our old wounds, to integrating the darker parts of us we'd rather ignore, and to embracing our true essence. The easier it becomes to attract a relationship that reflects that same level of depth and awareness. It's not about finding someone to complete us, or someone who will finally make us happy. That's a misunderstanding of love. True happiness starts from within. We must learn to be at peace with who we are, to enjoy our own company, to nourish our inner world, so that when we do share our life with someone, we're not asking them to fill a void. We're inviting them into a space already full of life. So many people spend their lives chasing the idea of love, never realizing that what they're really chasing is a remedy to their own internal emptiness. And when a relationship fails to instantly deliver happiness or validation, they move on to the next person and then the next, repeating the same patterns, caught in an endless loop. But true fulfillment doesn't come from constantly seeking something outside ourselves. It comes from the courage to turn inward and face what's there. Love that is grounded in self-awareness and consciousness is entirely different from love that is born out of need. There is no desperation in it. There is no clinging. There is no suffering rooted in fear or insecurity. Instead, there is peace. There is clarity. There is a steady connection that doesn't waver with external challenges because it is founded on something deeper than temporary emotions or passing attraction. Jung showed us that authentic relationships are the ones that help us grow. They're not relationships that drain us or wear us down. They're ones that elevate us, inspire us, and transform us. These connections are rooted in genuine support. There is a shared desire for mutual growth, a shared willingness to evolve, not just as individuals, but together. There is no fear in facing truth, no need to pretend or wear masks. They're not perfect, because no relationship is, but they are real. And in that realness, there is immense beauty. In these relationships, both people meet at a point of awareness and growth. They don't demand perfection from each other. Instead, they co-create something meaningful, something grounded in mutual understanding and conscious love. If we want to attract this kind of connection, we must ask ourselves, am I truly ready for a conscious relationship? Have I done the inner work necessary to attract someone who also seeks love rooted in truth and authenticity? Because the love we experience with another person will always reflect the state of our inner world. If we want to change our external relationships, we have to start with the one we have within. Real love is not a fantasy. It's not an illusion reserved for a lucky few. It exists, but it only becomes available to us when we're ready, truly ready to receive it. And readiness doesn't come from longing or impatience. It comes from self-love, from recognizing our own worth, from healing the parts of ourselves that have been wounded or forgotten. Only when we learn to love ourselves unconditionally can we open the door to a relationship that transcends surface-level attraction and reaches into the depths of the soul. When we understand the difference between a soul connection and a fleeting attraction, we stop chasing love in the wrong places. We stop trying to fill emotional voids with the presence of someone else. Instead, we begin to value authenticity, stability, and genuine connection. We see that real love is not about finding someone who completes us. It's about sharing our fullness with someone who has also walked their own path toward healing and wholeness. True love is not a power struggle. It's not a battle between desire and fear. It's not a chaotic ride that leaves us emotionally exhausted. It is a safe space. It is mutual growth. It is freedom and respect. It's a love that doesn't demand, that doesn't pressure, that doesn't manipulate. It simply exists, calmly and powerfully. And when we encounter this kind of love, there are no doubts, no anxiety, no lingering sense of lack. Everything flows. Everything feels aligned. Because it is a connection born, not from the ego, but from the soul. Jung reminded us again and again. The relationships we draw into our lives are reflections of our inner state. If we keep finding ourselves entangled in relationships that cause us pain, it's a sign that there are still parts of us that are waiting to be seen, understood, and healed. But the moment we commit to doing the inner work, facing our shadows, embracing self-compassion, loving ourselves with patience and without condition, everything begins to shift. The relationships we attract begin to change. We stop magnetizing people who feed off our wounds and start aligning with those who respect our growth. If this message has resonated with you, if you feel that now is the time to transform the way you experience love and connection, then consider this an invitation. Join this journey. Here, we explore Jung's principles, the power of the unconscious mind, the path to individuation, and the process of personal growth. Share in the comments which part of this message touched your heart the most. Tell us about your experiences, your reflections, your desire for a more authentic connection. Your story might be the light that guides someone else through their own journey. Share this message with someone who might need to hear it. Someone you know who is trapped in surface-level relationships and deserves to experience love from a higher, deeper perspective. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. Every like, every comment, every time you share helps us reach more people and grow a community where Jung's wisdom continues to transform lives. Remember, real love begins with you. If you want to attract a soul connection, you must first become the person who is ready to live it. It's not about searching outside for something you haven't yet found within. It's about discovering yourself, healing, and allowing true love to enter your life when you are finally ready to receive it. Thank you for being here, for listening, for reflecting. We'll see you in the next video. The change begins with you.